As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. How is everyone doing? Welcome to another episode of Burn and Return. My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the Grass Factor. Martin, alongside me, we have Ray Ito and Ryan DeMay. Gentlemen, how the hell are y'all doing?
Well, I feel a little bit underdressed and left out because I didn't know that I should have already had my tearaways off and be ready to go in the game with 5 fouls to give, guys. You got your basketball jerseys on there, got the black ones looking like you're playing for the Washington Generals up against the Globetrotters. So that's
I'm too short for basketball, Ryan. Remember, I'm too short.
Ray would be like the Muggsy Bogues of turf.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's short, but he's spunky. He'll get up on the court on it. Definitely. No doubt in my mind.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in again. Happy Father's Day. I know there's a lot of fathers out there. I'm going to pass this message on to you and challenge you of sorts, right? As a dad, you have 2 important things to keep atop your mind. Number one, and I'll die on this hill, is that your number one priority has to be your wife. Don't forget that she's the one who birthed or made the decision with you to adopt or whatever the case may be to raise a child together. And that needs to be priority number one. Because remember, it takes 2 to tango, and having a good partnership there and being able to demonstrate in front of your child the love between you and your spouse ultimately will have a greater lasting impact on them than any other thing they experience in the world. Whether you grow up rich, whether you grow up poor, is seeing the love between a couple is something that they will carry on and strive for even greater in their own personal lives. And then number 2 is always go the extra mile for your children. That it is truly a gift. I believe that, and there is nothing more oddly like selfishly giving back than going out of your way for your children. And I think one of the best ways that you can go out of the way for your children is leading by example, right? And that doesn't mean that if you want them to get into sports that you have to be some sports wizard. But if you get presented with a new challenge to do something, you tackle it with a smile and say, I don't know, we'll see what happens. And if you fail, take it gracefully and demonstrate to them that it's okay to fail. And so again, I want to challenge you those 2 things is number 1, prioritize your partner in this crazy game of life, and number 2, go out of your way for your kids. I don't ever want to hear anyone say you're too tired. I don't want to hear anyone say I don't have it in me. I don't know what to do. No one does. No one absolutely knows what to do. And so again, to all the dads out there, don't forget, and show some love to your dads that brought you into this world, and don't forget they'll take you out if you fuck up.
I got a third one to add to that, Matt. Okay. I got a third one. As a father, please take care of your health. Please.
Do it.
I cannot emphasize that enough, because you've heard me often say the only thing I ever saw my dad lift was a beer can or a cocktail glass. And that did 2 things, guys. And these are like bad things. First of all, obvious effect on his health. And because my father didn't have the right perspective, he also ignored my health for a very long time. Because, guys, you all know I did not look this young 4 years ago. I look like a fucking old man that was about to die. Okay? And that was because for half of my life, in my father's alcohol-induced haze, he didn't pay attention to the most important thing, which was the health of his family.
You heard it.
Well, as the voice of
It's
reason,
another
I feel
challenge.
inclined to smooth this all out because there's some good messages there and some somber but important messages too. And I'm grateful on this Father's Day. I've got two wonderful children. It is the hardest and most difficult job, even though we sit on here and talk about growing grass for 4 to 5 hours a week or whatever. But also the most rewarding one too. And I will say, my only bit of advice or ponderance on this issue is just that let your kids find their own way and make their own mistakes. I think I was fortunate to have a dad who did that, who didn't really overbear or have predetermined outcomes of who I should be, what I should be, what I should do for a living, anything like that. Kind of let me find my own way, fuck up. And when I did, he was man enough to come talk to me about it, not do too much yelling and screaming, be disappointed, but not mad. And, let me know how to think about things. So I know I wouldn't be who I am and where I am because if it hadn't been for that. So I think in this day and age, a lot of times people are worried and helicopter parenting and too worried about their kids making a mistake or doing something that they did wrong or anything like that. And I can assure you that mistakes and failure are the only ways that you're going to get uncomfortable enough to grow. And I'm fortunate and grateful and love my dad for letting me do that. So here I am today. That's my message. Well, let's go make fun of some motherfuckers.
That's right. That's right.
Because that's all we do, right? I mean, that's all we do. We just get up here and rip on people. We're terrible people. Just to ask our commenters or YouTube or whatever. Yeah. That's what we're
Nailed
here
it.
for. Yeah. I can't wait. Well, and listen, folks, we've been kind of hopping around a little bit all over the place here. We'll do a proper burn and return here soon, but it's summertime. I think everybody is a little out of sorts. Matt's working a ton. I'm working a ton. Ray is working a ton.
Getting shredded.
Getting shredded and trying to keep up with the insatiable thirst trap that is Sheila. The well that will never run dry, literally and figuratively. You got to drink when she says, "Here it comes." So, with that, the Jodo's Turf segments are always fun, and they're born out of a long-standing old skit, I guess, if you will, or episode, or not episode, but segment that Matt used to do in Turfs Up Radio. We did it and still do it behind the scenes in a much more crass, rude, and despicable way every week on our Wednesday night show. And that's only if you're a member that you can come by and see that. But in this format, we try to use it, one, to poke a little fun because that's just who we are. We're needlers. We're pricks. It's just the way it goes. And also to a point of using it as teaching tools, right? So just like the film room on a Saturday morning after a football game or whatever, you know what? We're going to point it all out and we're going to drill down and just say, hey, this is where you fucked up and here's how you can do better. And yeah, stop being such a big pussy about it. All right. So
Do
that
better.
being said, do better. That's all we're asking.
Yeah.
I there's no point, at no point with any of these folks do we wish ill will on them, most of them. But I think that the vast majority of everybody who watches and participates in this segment every week will be able to and has been able to take something away from it, even if it's at the surface level of just being afraid of fucking up something so bad that they end up on this segment, right? Even if that's the least amount that we do, we're doing our goddamn job. All right. Now, with that being said, tonight's episode will be just the Joe Knows Turf and a couple different segments of it. And guys, again, these have been sent in to me. I seem to be the bearer of this segment, and have to bring it to. And it really has just. I was saying this before the show. It has literally wrecked my YouTube algorithm, my news algorithm, a lot of things. I get my ads, everything. Okay, it's bad. So this is the weight that I carry for the show. A little more than this, because I'm not always here, I'm not always present, but I can do this for you guys, and that's what I'm willing to do. So, J Pink, let me see which one we're going to start with here, because we have 3 to dive into, and I think we're going to do. Ooh, yeah, the very first one that I sent over.
Is it this one
from our is.
Which one was it?
I don't know. I just felt like I got off the military press rack, though.
Ooh.
I'm gonna have to video call my wife. I haven't seen her in too long.
You,
honey, I'm not okay.
Somebody hand me a towel real quick. All right.
Yikes.
We will go to the one that was sent to me just today. Anyway, I could have gone a lot of places there, but from the Lawn Life. Lawn Life has posted this. I don't think Long Life likes us, but we're not here to be liked, right? Hey, listen, Ray, I'm going to tell you something really important, and I think you would ascribe to this with all of your clients, right? I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to help you get good, and sometimes that could hurt, such as this. Let's watch.
And that fertilizer is called Earthworks 822. Earthworks 822 is an organic-based, slow-release fertilizer that is composed mostly of composted chicken manure along with a small amount of ammonium sulfate. The combination of these 2 ingredients have taken over the professional industry lately. Professional NFL stadiums.
What?
How far do you have to fall in the pantheon of videographers and content production specialists to be the guy who's got to shoot the HD B-roll footage of some chickens around the chicken coop? I mean, do you go home and tell mom and dad that at Christmas time? Hey,
I
got to do all the farm animals one by one.
Yeah, this is nothing new. This is nothing new because I'm familiar with a product line called Sustain, and I hate that shit. Okay? I absolutely, totally hate that shit. And you know why I hate
How
it?
do you really feel, Ray? Tell me.
It's because I never know when and how much of the nitrogen contained in that product is ever going to get released. I never know. It's like I might as well walk up to the crap stable in Vegas and say, here's my annual income. Let's roll the fucking dice. Let's go. I mean, that's how I feel about these kind of fertilizers.
Please, can we get the sounder that says of Ray saying, "Let's roll the fucking dice"? I need that in my life. Because in no way, shape, or form would Ray ever roll the dice. He's not a gambler. Now, the product that is in question here that Lawn Life is apparently promoting is a product from a company called Earthworks, and they're out of Pennsylvania, and they primarily manufacture carbon-based fertilizers is what they kind of ascribe to and put their names to, but they're organic-based fertilizers. So as he said, poultry litter manure, and then they do a lot of the same things, and this is why I'm going to be leaning on Matt as we go through this video, because a lot of the same principles, right, behind priming that poultry manure and going from there. So all right, let's play the video here real quick.
Like the Chiefs, Eagles, Ravens, and other NFL sod producers are using Earthworks, along with others like US Open golf courses, professional soccer stadiums, and nationally known park systems. Earthworks has been known as the industry go-to for professional turf management, and it wasn't until last year that they decided to open it up to us homeowners. And the best part of all is that it's actually affordable. So what makes Earthworks a great fertilizer, especially in the summer months? The key.
Now, to be fair, he flashed a price up there, and for our audio-only folks, I want to make sure that we're fair to you. They show the price as $43.50 a bag. Now, when you add on the shipping that Earthworks does direct from their site, it's about $53, and this is a 25-pound bag. So the equivalent bag in a 50-pound unit of measure would be $106. Okay, let's keep that as a frame of reference. Let's let old lawn life here continue.
Affordable. So what makes Earthworks a great fertilizer, especially in the summer months? The key really isn't the fertilizer itself, but it boils down to the energy that it creates within your soil. In your soil are things called microbes, and these microbes are tiny microscopic organisms that break down organic matter. Things like compost, dead leaves, grass clippings, anything that will break down in your soil, these microbes will feast on. And the more these microbes feast, the more it helps your lawn thrive. These microbes make nutrients available to your lawn, improve your soil structure, help with disease pressure, and help extend root systems in plants. Now this is where Earthworks comes into play. You might be thinking that I'm going to say that this fertilizer is composed of billions of microbes, but that's not it at all. The composted chicken manure that is in this fertilizer is actually insanely rich in organic carbon. And when you apply that to your lawn, the carbon in the chicken manure makes those microbes that are already in your lawn go absolutely insane, like little microbe crackheads.
How can you sleep if you have crack?
What?
The Chinese riddle for you.
Which creates a feeding frenzy with.
Wow.
Wow.
A little insensitive. Listen, we're insensitive all the time, but man,
Especially
pretty
with
hard.
Hunter Biden in the news and all that lately. Come on, man. Show some couth.
It's absurd.
It's in your soil.
agree.
These microbes rapidly reproduce and break down the organic matter in the soil, releasing a steady stream of nutrients for your lawn to uptake. This constant feeding by the microbes also aerates the soil, allowing for better water infiltration and root development. And
That's
because Earthworks
a strong statement.
Absolutely.
What did he say? Let's back up real
allowing
quick.
for
Does that
better
mean
water
if
infiltration.
you have to aerate your lawn, does that mean you have a lack of microbes? Is that where we're going with this? Is that all you need to do is encourage microbial activity, and therefore that cultural practice is dead? Is that what we're alluding
Yep.
to here? We need to just
That's where
focus
we're
on the
going to.
microbes. More of this.
And this is
Okay.
all a scam, because what I often tell
Uh-oh.
people when they tell me my soil is hard and compacted, my usual answer to them is, hey buddy, why don't you get the fuck off of that deep and infrequent watering meme and maintain adequate soil moisture? That'll help
Uh-oh.
way more than this magic in a bag stuff.
And root development. And because Earthworks 822 is a slow release fertilizer, it's going to feed those microbes over time, which means less applications for us. Now, some people will probably wonder why the nitrogen content is so low in this bag at only 8%. Because I kind of wondered the same thing, but the truth is, with the combination of ammonium sulfate and microbes working hand in hand together, you don't need as much nitrogen for a big green up, which in turn helps us because that means we don't have to mow as much. Now, the one thing about this fertilizer is it definitely has some stank to it. And it's definitely stronger than Milorganite. I mean, I can smell it through the bag right now.
Don't nobody go in the bathroom for about 45 minutes. Somebody open the window.
And when you open this up,
That is a
you're gonna get a
classic.
giant whiff of success. It's an acquired taste for sure, but once you see the results, I think you're definitely gonna learn to love it. So here's what the fertilizer looks like. What I
great.
love is the
So
prill
what does
size.
that mean?
With granular
He's
fertilizer,
going to make the entire neighborhood smell like a chicken barn. Is that what the end effect is? Great. I mean, the neighbors must really love this guy by now. God.
I was thinking more like a film that starts in a gym, a workout gym. You know, might smell like that.
I don't know, because I've been
Musky.
inside a chicken barn before, and I basically have had to hold my nose. I mean, it is that bad.
These are most of them
I've
coming.
spent hours in chicken barns, and holding your nose is nothing. It's
bigger
It's
prill
disgusting.
sizes, so you'll get spotty coverage all over the lawn. But this is almost like a fine powder or sand, so the coverage really shouldn't be
Pause.
an issue. So now I'm at
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
So let's look at that real quick. Back that up just for a second here. And I want to see the product, JPEG. Show me the prills. There you go. So pause that. Okay.
Whoa.
So Matt, talk to
Oh.
me a little bit about, again, the production process and the fact that, some of this is going to go to the professional market. And maybe, I think you may have alluded to this before, that not just Earthworks, I'm not singling them out, right? But the stuff that we cannot sift through, right? That ends up on the floor that maybe we don't be able, able to use and sift down enough. Maybe that ends up here. But let's talk about that real quick of why there's such a wide distribution of uniformity in the prill sizes here.
Yeah. So when you are granulating, right, you are effectively you're rolling individual granules, and there's a variety of different ways to do it. For this product here, this is probably something like 25% ammonium sulfate, 75% poultry manure. This is poultry manure from egg layers, and you can always deduce whether it's from egg layers or broilers because of the calcium content. And kind of the interesting thing about egg layer material is that it's already mostly granulated. You kind of have to screen it and dry it, and then it's pretty much good to go. So something like this, you could literally just put into a blender and then dry it and then bag it. And you're good to go. Now, they probably put a screen in it, but you got to think about it. If you're screening for particular sizes and you have a yield curve of material that falls within, like, we'll say a 1.5 and 1.8 millimeters, that's a really tight spec, right? And to hit that yield curve, maybe only 30% of what comes out of the granulator is going to be in that size spec. So what you do is you start loosening your sieves in order to be able to capture more of that material, right? Because if you run 2,000 pounds of material and only 30% of it is of acceptable size, well, now you've got to reprocess 70%. That's a lot, right? And from a manufacturing standpoint, now your cost of production is going to go up way high, because not only do you have to granulate it, then you got to reprocess it, then you have to granulate it again, and then reprocess it, and then granulate it again. And that's only to get out. So you've got to run it 3 times to get a 90% yield, theoretically. Or what you can do is that you can just put a really fine mesh in the bottom and a large mesh up top. And so maybe you put 3 millimeters up top, and then you put like 0.5 millimeter in the bottom, and now you've got a real wide spec. And so now in a single pass, 90% of it falls through. So your granulation yield is now 90%. So now you only have 10% to rework, right? And now that becomes much more cost effective from a production standpoint in order to produce 2,000 pounds of material. You run 2,000 pounds of this material and you're getting 1,800 out, right? So that all of a sudden your cost of production goes down quite a bit. And that gives you the flexibility of being either more competitive with your price, or if you see where it helps, right? You can pad your margins a little bit, however you have to do it. So and another reason why, like, for instance, ammonium sulfate or some sort of additional material will be added in this is that poultry manure in and of itself, as you pull it out of the house, is going to be relatively high moisture content. It's going to be wet, right? And while you need a certain amount of moisture to undergo granulation, you've got to bring up moisture so it starts to aggregate and form and then roll, right? But if it's too wet, it'll roll too big too fast. So you want to add something dry to it. And preferably, you can add things that are dry, that are inert, like you could add lime to it. You could add calcium sulfate, which is gypsum. You could add silica to it. You can add diatomaceous earth. There's a lot of different bulking agents that you can do. Or you can add something that would be considered a value add input, right? In this particular instance, ammonium sulfate would be a value added input, right? So one, the moisture content is going to be 0. So if you've got poultry manure at 30% moisture, and then you've got ammonium sulfate is 0% moisture, and you blend them 25-75. Now you've taken it from 30% moisture down to 20% moisture. And so that makes it a little bit easier to granulate with. It makes it easier to handle the material because like your augers and conveyors that move it from point A to point B don't get gummed up. And so it makes it a lot easier to handle. Did that answer your question?
It sure did. It sure did.
Okay.
So
Certainly.
that kind of
Yeah.
no. So Ray, let me ask you this question here: is when we have, and again, granted the market here, homeowners and things like that, and the type of equipment that they're going to be running out of, but to what end are there going to be issues potentially with having such a wide distribution of particle sizes in that hopper, and how might it come out and distribute off of a spinner on a spreader?
I can already foresee issues where, all of the extremely fine particles in this product, they're going to turn into dust that flies into the neighbor's window. Promise you that. Next issue is that, all of the larger particles that fly off of that rotary spreader, they're actually going to land. But then here's the thing. They may not land uniformly because, Ryan, if I had material like this, the only way I could envision spreading it is through a drop spreader. And the reason why I would go drop spreader is because I don't want the problems of varying products, varying particle sizes being spread in a very random and unpredictable manner. I mean, because you know what this looks like to me? Lime. This looks to me almost like rough lime.
Let me throw a little monkey wrench in here, right? So when you think about it from a manufacturing standpoint, okay? When you are choosing your inputs and basing, because a lot of times what you choose as inputs, you have to match your prill size alongside that, right? Like how tight your prill size spec is. If it's really high nitrogen and soluble, so instant release, it's your particle size distribution has to be particularly tight. So that way, if you set your spreader at something, you're going to get a pretty uniform distribution pattern and flow rate through your spreader. But if it's organic and that rate variance is going to be pretty high because it's, low analysis, then you can kind of fudge your particle size distribution because it's not soluble. And your rates are typically going to be a little bit higher because it is low analysis. And so it's like, we can run a tight particle spec. We can get creative with our binders to make it look, shiny, for example. Or we can just get it out as cheap as humanly possible and sell the function to a really high degree to justify the price tag we put on it. And I don't know how much more of this you want to watch, Ryan, but my question, and we can go through the remainder of the video, but my question here is that what is unique or novel about this product? And I just want that to ruminate in the back of your head, and then I'll give my opinion on it at the end. I actually have a very much more gentle opinion than Ray does, but let that ruminate in the back of your head and think about it. What is particularly novel about this when we start looking at a cost analysis and making the decision over whether or not it makes sense to use this in your lawn? Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that, if we look at this as an input, right, and there are some benefits that you could see in terms of, if there needs to be an input of carbon in the soil, which decidedly, no, probably not, right? If we need to apply any of the macronutrients that are, contained in this product, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, well, there's more cost-effective, ways to do that. And then I think what it'll come down to is some of the other things, right? So I can't remember if this product has the mycorrhizae and the other stuff in it, right? So it's
not this one.
If you're looking to, yeah, okay, I didn't think so. So if it comes down to I'm looking at this product and evaluating, whether I'm a lawn care operator, I'm a homeowner, whatever, to put this into the program, and I see a cost by my calculation, including the shipping, of $13.25 per pound of nitrogen, right? Relative to something like ammonium sulfate, which is going to be $2 to $2.50 per pound of nitrogen. I think it's pretty easy to go this route. I also think it's interesting too, is that as we talked about here, I don't know what that was, 3-4 weeks ago, some of the shakedown tactics that this particular YouTuber was trying to use on one of our good friends with
Yeah.
I Want Feature. And now he
Mhm.
is promoting this product, which I'm assuming he's going to get some. So listen, promotable product, everything like that. I don't know if he's getting a cut of it or not, but regardless, why the push, right? And is this genuine, right? Or was this, the marketing, firm that's handling Earthworks push into the homeowner market comes to him and says, hey, we'll pay X number of dollars for, a positive video and this, that, and the other thing. Is that the way it goes down? And 95% of the time, that's usually how this goes down. So a little suspect there. And, here's the last thing I'll say to that point. Again, no proof, just speculation, but there's no, there's no profit sharing or anything like that. No affiliate marketing when you're selling commodity-based fertilizers like MAP or like urea or ammonium sulfate. Unfortunately, it's hard to capture that, and so therefore, you sell what people has a name and has a brand and a narrative behind it, and that's where we end up. So that's my 2 cents on this.
So my opinion on the product is that I number one is that I love poultry manure, especially for a homeowner perspective, and even if you're a volume lawn care company, and the reason why is that it's incredibly hard to fuck up, right? Like if you're trying to get to 30 yards in a day, it's real hard to fuck up spreading poultry manure, and your duration of response out of it is going to be good. That if it takes you 8 weeks to get back out, you're going to be fine. Now, where this is where budgeting comes into a big part of operating your business as well, too, right? So, most distributors are going to offer a composted poultry manure, whether it comes from egg layers or broilers, pick your poison, $15 a bag, maybe $18 a bag, depending on where you are geographically and where it came from. With taxes and everything after that, you maybe you pay $18. But if I recall correctly, and I don't know if this is still the case, is back when I was an applicator. I think this was at the this was starting at like $25 a bag, right? And it's when you start looking at the cost per ton of ammonium sulfate and then the cost per ton of poultry manure, and I will say that where I know which source they're using. It's legit company. Everything about it's legit. It's good, and even the company that's granulating it, they partnered with Earthworks for a long time. They've got a great relationship. So I don't want to shit on it by any means, and I think in terms of product efficacy, I've got no issues with it either. Is all the results you get them because of microbial interactions? No, what when it mineralizes, it's mineralizing to nitrogen, and then it's fortified with more ammoniacal nitrogen on top of it, and then it's fortified with ammoniacal nitrogen with sulfur on top of it. So, is it the organic matter that's giving it to you, or look, I'm going to be real honest with you. What does organic matter turn into? Nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Don't let anyone tell you.
Yes.
Does the plant know the difference between nitrogen that comes from composted poultry manure or nitrogen that comes from urea or ammonium sulfate or ammonium nitrate? The plant has no idea where it comes from. It just knows it's there. And how does the plant take it up? It drinks it, right? So remember, as this mineralizes, the plant is not eating composted poultry manure. The microbes are shitting actual ammonia and nitrites that the plants are drinking out of solution. They're drinking the water, and that's how they're taking it up. So they're taking it up in the form that we supply chemically, conventionally with ammonium sulfate, ammonium nitrate, urea, anhydrous ammonia.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. So, I have zero qualms with the product, but if you are a lawn care guy or something and you want to use a composted poultry manure, there's literally a shit ton out there. You don't have to pay $25 a bag. Demay, I think when I was just saying that when I was an applicator, this was like $25 a bag, if I recall correctly. And that was
Probably
for a
somewhere
pretty
in
significant volume. It's
See if I can find out
extremely spendy. And you're buying the brand, right? And they've got a lot of money invested in marketing. They got a lot of money invested in education. They sponsor a lot, and so there's a cost to operating when it comes to that, and they have to charge the prices they charge to have the kind of industry participation that they have. 100%, I get it. If you're a lawn care guy and you're cost conscious, your best bet's probably to look elsewhere. And it's not because of a product advocacy standpoint. I'm just saying that you can get the exact same thing for cheaper at a lot of places. That's all. That's all.
And there you have it.
How about that?
So, lawn life, keep hucking, keep shucking, but don't buck.
Yep.
All right.
Keep shilling.
So, moving on here, our next
What we got next, man?
our next video was actually one that we've seen some of here, but haven't really broken it down like this in a public forum. So I thought that our friend Greg Phillips, and when I say friend, I'm using that term extremely loosely. Greg's about as much of a fan as Travis is. I don't know if Travis likes us anymore still. Unfortunately, I don't think we care. So with Greg has some interesting information to share with us about using fungicides on cool season turf in the Midwest, and particularly in West Virginia, where he's from, and where he works for a regulatory agency related to the environment. So let's see what Greg has to say here, starting at about 21 minutes of this video where he's talking about fungicides.
Only have one, or the way it is very limited in how it controls the pathogen. For example, if you look at the Microbes product, it has very low concern over resistance. In other words, you can, the possibility of the pathogen beginning to get resistance to this fungicide is very low. I talked about Chlorothalonil, outstanding fungicide. It is, both of these are contacts, by the way.
Don't spray it on a home lawn, though.
There has a very low disease resistance to fungal. There's it's very low as far as our disease resistance is concerned. Okay, there we go. So I got that out.
Pause.
All right, now here.
All right, so he's got this out of the way. Ray, can you quickly, in 60 seconds or so, frame up for those of you that are at home, what is Chlorothalonil as a fungicide? How long has it been around, and what are its use cases? And finally, why is it got a bad rap outside the turf industry?
Chlorothalonil has been around, I would say, probably since the late 60s, early 70s. And as far as its use cases, right now its current use cases are for agricultural crops, disease control in nurseries, commercial landscapes, and on golf turf. However, as wonderful as dear Craig says Chlorothalonil is, there's a couple of issues associated with using and applying Chlorothalonil. The first issue I can think of is Chlorothalonil is extremely toxic to fish and aquatic invertebrates. Fish don't like this product at all when it gets into their water. Second issue that I can think of regarding Chlorothalonil is I became familiar with what was called fulminant dermal necrosis. And does anybody know what fulminant dermal necrosis is?
Nope.
Okay,
Doesn't
let
sound
me
good.
describe it to you. Okay, what happens is your body reacts to a chemical that it was exposed to, and the reaction is in the form of your skin literally dying and sloughing off. And when I say dying and sloughing off, all the skin on your body just goes. And the first time this happened was a golfer touched chlorothalonil applied to a green or a tee. And he got the reaction to that chlorothalonil. And once report of that went back to the EPA, that is when the EPA made the decision that chlorothalonil should not be applied to places where people are in regular contact with the turf, especially children and domestic animals, because I would be really broke up if, for example, a kid touched this and this happened to them, or God forbid, your neighbor's dog or cat touched this and this happened to them. And that's literally possible outcomes. And that is why I literally harp on this every chance I get. If you have a home lawn, please reconsider applying chlorothalonil to it, because it may not be the first time that somebody contacts this that this happens. It may not be the second time. But goodness me, when it happens, and oh my God. Because, by the way, you know that person that got the fulminant dermal necrosis? He died. It killed
Holy
him.
shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it
doesn't
killed
sound
him.
like something you're coming back from.
No, because all of the
Or want
poor
to.
guy's skin just came the fuck off, and he was in the hospital, and the doctors were just basically watching him disintegrate. I mean, this is not a joke, and this is why when people talk very casually about, oh, let's put chlorothalonil on a residential lawn where the potential for human exposure is high, I get a bit triggered. Okay?
So Greg here is using a chart that is from the Ohio State University and their plant pathology department. And this is a really, really helpful chart to look at the different frac codes and fungicide families. And they put it out every year. It gets updated every year. The issue is that this is made as a reference guide for professional turfgrass managers, which Greg used to be based on the information that's publicly available to us and discussed by him at length in all of his videos about how he's a former golf course superintendent, was a golf course superintendent for a couple of decades, something like that, right? So long enough to know better. Long enough to know better, guys. So what's interesting that Ray didn't cover in that whole spiel, which was excellent, by the way, is what we needed to hear. The other thing that he didn't cover is the fact that it is not labeled for use in residential lawns. So,
Actually,
even
Ryan,
if Greg wanted to, yes,
I did mention that in that.
Yep.
That is why the EPA, after they got reports of that dermal, that fulminant dermal necrosis, that is when they took action and they removed chlorothalonil from the residential turf market, because, up until the mid 1990s, I sprayed a lot of Daconil 2787 on lawns. I did a lot of that, and that was not a particularly pleasant operation, because I had that Maruyama pump and the Trident. And so that was just an interesting operation. But like I said, when the EPA found out about that dermal necrosis, they pulled it because they knew that it was a matter of time before it happened again. Although people like Greg, maybe he's going to become the next case, or he's going to be the cause of the next case. I don't know.
All right, so then let's watch what Greg says here about chlorothalonil, and then we'll jump ahead.
Here's what's labeled for home lawn use. You have the family benzimidazole, and you also have another family, steroid inhibitors. Each family represents that it has a different mode of action on fungus. Okay, benzimidazole is a thiophanate methyl, which is labeled for home lawns. And then you also have a propiconazole that is labeled for home lawns. Now, there's also a trichoconazole that it's in that Pillar G product that I showed you. That's the active ingredient in that Pillar G product. And I had seen a couple online of those hose end adapters, but primarily in your hose end, well, almost exclusively. In those hose end adapters, you're going to have one of these two active ingredients in it. Unfortunately, it's a steroid inhibitor, which is highly you have disease concern over disease resistance is high. If you keep on using these products,
is tebuconazole labeled for residential lawns?
Trichoconazole is myclobutanol. Definitely is.
Yeah. I've used a lot of Eagle,
for home lawns.
but I wasn't sure about tebuconazole. I didn't think it was.
Tebuconazole is not. So
yeah,
Greg talks and says in this little section here that, hey, you know, he actually mentions chlorothalonil is not registered for home lawns. So that's interesting, because when we jump ahead here to the 42-minute mark, let's see what Greg does with chlorothalonil in a home lawn.
I need to put my whatever I'm going to put out, my pesticides out.
You were shadowing, and then you were shadowing.
Now, for those of you that are audio only, Greg is now outside. He is wearing some black nitrile gloves that are probably not chemical rated, but maybe they are. I don't know. And he's he's got himself a folding table. It's got a battery powered backpack sprayer, a mixing cup, what looks to be, I think that's a Celebrin, and also a big old 2.5 gallon jug of chlorothalonil 720. And he's also got
clearly doesn't
himself
work for the EPA.
an iPad, and he's in what is very clearly a neighborhood, in a yard that I would assume it is his own. I don't have the property records in front of me, but I'll assume that this is
definitely
his
a home.
yard. It's very, without question, a home, not a commercial property, not a industrial site, not a golf course, not a professional or collegiate sports field, but a home lawn. So we'll let Greg take it away here for a minute.
And I need to fill it up the rest of the way. That's so it blends in real well. I will also give this a shake. In regards to giving it a shake, okay, I'm going to put this to the side. Okay. Now, I need, I'm going to put 8 ounces of this out per 1,000. On fungicides, you got to shake them. You're going to have to shake them
8 ounces per 1,000?
Now, listen, rates. Let's just assume, right? Let me pull up that particular product that he has, and not that there's a huge difference there, but there we go. Let me get this label here, gentlemen. So, on golf course fairways, lawns, and other turf grass, right? We've got a rate 5.5 to 9.75 pints per acre. Okay. So that's what we can put out. So at our highest rate, 5, 16, divided by 43.56. So, gentlemen, that is the same as what we see here for greens, which is 3.6 fluid ounces per 1,000. And this will actually let us kick it up to 15 if we've got red thread anthracnose, copper spot, stem rust, or dichondra leaf spot, which
I don't
I'm
see any
not-
of that of what we're looking at here. I don't
Yeah,
see
I
a
was gonna
golf
say,
cart
I-
either.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I
This is going to be the
I don't see a
fairway rate.
golf
So the
rate.
fairway rate is going to give us up to that. If we go with the higher label rate for golf course fairways, lawns, and all other turf grass, which again does not include residential, the label will give us a one-time maximum of 5.5 fluid ounces per thousand. So
But
I
we're
don't know
gonna
if he's
do
going.
8?
Is this two? He's got. I don't know if he's got 2,000 square feet in the tank.
He said
3,000 square
8 per
feet in the tank.
1,000.
Go
He
back
said
and
8
let's
per
play that
1,000,
again.
and you know, if he said 8 per 1,000, guys, I remember that because you know, up until 1996, that was the max curative rate for chlorothalonil products. I remember applying up to 8 per 1,000 up until that time.
Let's see what he says.
Okay. Now I'm gonna put 8 ounces of this out per 1,000 on fungicides. You got to shake them. You're going to have to shake them frequently. Now, because it's a 2.5 gallon jug, this is going to last me a year or two, and that's fine, as long as
Only
you
a year
be
or two?
sure.
Goodness me. Goodness me.
He is on the every 7 to 14 day spray program of chlorothalonil.
At 8 ounces per 1,000, Matt. At 8 per
Holy
1,000.
shit! What is this guy doing? What
Just
golf
inventory
course
liquidation.
superintendent gave this advice?
An
we'll get
old
to that.
one,
He
Matt.
says himself, boy, he fucked up.
Super old one, okay?
Go
Not to let this freeze. You should be fine for a
Living in the
couple,
90s.
maybe much as 3 years, and this you'll be able to keep it and actually use it. Chlorothalonil, you can put it on landscape, turf. It is a great fungicide for just about anything. It's kind of like what I do with herbicides with you folks. I try to give you a very broad spectrum stuff to take
Put it
some
on
of the
landscape,
guesswork out of what
put it
you
on turf.
have. So, okay. So I am treating 4,000 square feet. I'm wanting to go out. Very simple math. If I'm treating 4,000 square feet, I'm wanting to put this out at 8 ounces. At 8 ounces per 1,000. So I've got 4,000 square feet times 8. Simple math. I need 32 ounces of this. So
8 ounces.
here
per
we
1,000.
go. So I need to basically fill this up.
He recorded and put this on
You can see it's
YouTube,
white.
citing his credentials as a golf course superintendent. This is inspiring.
Holy smokes.
If you're the Sierra Club, yes.
Wow.
Wow.
And it doesn't sound very environmentally friendly, but I'll tell you how good the chlorothalonil is. There's an old superintendent's saying, paint it white, sleep at night. I know that doesn't sound very environmentally friendly, but the point
he did
know
the
what?
narcissistic hub again after he said that. It is a telling sign of a narcissist when they do that joke. It's the same one Ginger does.
You know what though? You know how you tell a real genuine human being is when they say it, paint it white, sleep at night, and they just stare right through your soul like Telly Coleman does. You know that they're a good person.
I'm gonna text that to my wife right now.
We don't need no no we let her know
Clutch.
we do not need any color swatches from Home Depot. It only comes in one color. It's the best part. So here with Greg says, it doesn't sound environmentally like friendly or something like that, or it is or something.
No shit. No shit. Because you all, I know, Ryan, you and I have been talking about how the EPA has been going after chlorothalonil on an increasing basis over the
It's going
recent
away.
years.
It's gonna be gone. It's gonna
It's
be
going to be
gone.
gone.
Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you know why it's going to be gone? It's because EPA considers chlorothalonil to be too much of a water pollutant. That is their exact problem with chlorothalonil. You're killing too much fish. And by the way, you know, in a neighborhood like this, with a guy like this spraying 8 ounces per thousand of chlorothalonil, that is exactly the situation that makes EPA want to pull that stuff off the market now. That's the exact situation right there.
This is one of those golf course superintendents that give golf course superintendents a bad name, right? Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, do you know what course he works at? Like, or is he still in the industry?
He has not been in the industry by the records I
For
can
over 20
find
years.
since over 20 years.
So
Over 20
he's
years.
still advertising himself as a golf course superintendent. I'm curious, Demay, do you have any insight on what he does for a living?
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out when he puts his own name on there and where he's generally from. If I type that into the Google machine, what comes up is that Greg is a environmental resource program manager for the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. So we ought to know better. But
EPA.
But even more to the point, he's also, at least from what I can tell, a credentialed pesticide applicator in the state of West Virginia. So
wait,
wow,
he is a resource program manager for the state EPA. The irony in this is off the chart.
Well, and it kind of there is no way to feign ignorance here, right? Like, there's really not. Between the fact that
Imagine titling this, starting this with a credential flex, touting advice from a golf course superintendent, making multiple label violations, including a rate violation that has been changed in the label since the late 90s. Putting it on YouTube, knowing that you are now an employee of the state EPA. I'm impressed at this level of ignorance.
But
I don't think it's ignorance, Matt. I think it's
It doesn't?
narcissism. Yeah, I think
It
this
goes
is
beyond this?
narcissism. That's not. Yeah, can't go any less. Can't go any
I mean,
less.
all it would take
This
is being a licensed applicator to go back and read the label, and the label would have pointed all this stuff out.
Yeah.
Where you're using it, the rates, right? All that stuff. So real quick, I just want to verify. So for those of you that are scoring at home that don't believe this,
is this happening?
Cue up. There's Greg actually applying this to, again, for those of you that are audio only, that's not commercial turf. That's not institutional turf. It's not professional sports turf. It's not collegiate sports turf. It's not a golf course.
That's a fucking home lawn.
Take it from the people that have sprayed thousands and thousands of home lawns. This is a home lawn. Now, what's funny is that Greg took the show on the road and went onto Facebook, and a really interesting choice of where to put this post that he was using to cross promote his video, which was actually on the Bermuda Lawn Dominators Facebook group, which
I do not see him treating in his video.
No, it's definitely cool season. And secondarily, I don't know that there's any particular use for chlorothalonil on Bermuda grass, especially in a lawn situation, even if you were allowed to spray it. It's kind of far-fetched.
Yeah.
So, to read Greg's post here, Greg says, summer fungal control. First video I did on this got 1,000 views in 48 hours. Well, There's the narcissist. Had several great questions. This is my new video on summer fungus control. In it, I go over fungicide costs so you can compare one fungicide to the other, you can save using a backpack sprayer. I go over fungicide options and explain how disease resistance happens and how to avoid it, how to properly mix your sprayer, and I explain to go over a synergistic chemical program, which can not only reduce the amount of fungicide you put out, it can also reduce disease resistance to fungicides and save you money.
He's proud of his work. I mean, just that is not a subtle flex. That is a very direct, in your face. I am proud of what I did, and I'm so proud of it. I feel a deep need to share this with you,
including a screen grab from said video with the chlorothalonil in question sitting right in front of me on my patio table. Okay,
right at it.
So some individuals picked up on this, and they went. Yeah, he goes to Kroger. All right, like the rest of us. He's a plebe like us. So there were some people that posted back and kind of let him know, like, hey guy, like, you got some issues here. So I'll read this here. James says, if you're going to passively endorse an off-label application, you should at least disclose the health risks that Daconil poses to children and pets. You had a great opportunity to help folks. Disappointing. Greg says, I specifically said multiple times it does not labeled for home land use. Have a land party. You didn't watch the video. I also gave ways that you can control dollar spot without using chemicals. Again,
clearly he did watch the video. Clearly he watched it.
Okay. Yeah, he did watch the video.
Hi, James.
Does this not reek of 2024 government employees do as I say, not as I do? Goodness me. Goodness me. Pause.
Nailed it.
Yikes.
Whammy.
Got it. Got it, Ryan.
Oh.
I paused. No, sorry. I was pausing for Joe. You said not for home lawns. Then in the video, you mixed chlorothalonil in a celebrant and applied it to dramatic turfs up radio. Matt Martin pause here. Your lawn.
Ding, 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 ding.
So
Greg's gonna have a meltdown now, right? He's got to say you're a communist. You don't live in a 500,000. Some kind of meltdown,
facts.
Right?
Alternative
facts. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, there's
trust me. I'm the superintendent.
You know, there's good people on both sides of the floor.
I'm an authority. I'm an authority. Don't question me.
Yeah,
that's what this says. I'm an authority. Don't question me.
All my arguments are founded in my authority.
We can all agree to disagree that it's explicitly stated on the fucking label. You know, we could just do that too. But
that as well. Yeah, you applied 8 ounces per 1,000 above label rate. Good job.
Yeah. So, you know,
number one.
Listen, I'm sure
did
Greg
he respond to that?
I don't know. I did not go back through. I think the thread was actually deleted by a mod in that group. So this was the screen grabs we had. Now,
all right, Demay, then hang on. Let me loop you in on how he replied to that. I don't have the screen grab, but I do recall what was said. He said is that is not a home lawn. That is a commercial property.
I'm going to go ahead and have to disagree on that. Clearly, his
Brian,
residence.
There is lying, and then there's whatever the fuck that guy did, which is so out of control, crazy. Imagine going through that whole video and having the testicular fortitude to publicly exclaim, that is not a home lawn, that is a commercial property. Boy, the mental gymnastics to come to that conclusion is off the fucking charts. Lord have mercy. Yowza. Well,
Greg, got some
give us a summary. Bring me somewhere back to reality, because I'm not going to lie, I am weirded the fuck out here.
Here's my my summary, right? If I was writing
Does
the
he
book
play on his
report on
son's
it, somebody
high school team too? Can't
um
let it go, champ.
yeah, shows up in the baseball game in full regalia, even the stirrup socks. Yeah, definitely. I think Greg is a guy who worked on a golf course back in the 90s and early 2000s when things were a lot different. I was in the business at that time, just getting my start, albeit. So Greg's, further along in his career than I was at that point. But I saw what was going on. And I saw how things have changed over the last, 25 almost years since Greg was in the business. And I can say this is that um, what he is proposing to do and saying, hey, don't do this, but watch me do it. And you can claim whatever you want that it's commercial property, everything like that. That sounds like a fallback after you've already done
Mhm.
fucked up or whatever, right? Or
Mhm.
just really dissociating yourself from reality so that you can do something that that you're not supposed to do. So whatever the reason is, I think this goes more to the point of, I'm not smart as Travis Shaddix to tell you which logical fallacy this is. Appeal to authority, I guess, right? Hey,
Yeah.
I was a golf course superintendent. You should listen to me, right? What is that? I gotta look it up now. But
Trust me.
yeah, anybody that starts off a
Trust me.
Yeah. It, yeah.
Unless
it
that's
is
followed
the-
with I'm a moron, don't trust them. Trust me, I'm a
Yeah.
moron. Chances are you can believe them. If they say anything other than I'm a moron, I'm an idiot, I'm a dumbass, something self-deprecating after trust me, don't trust them. Life fact, life lesson.
Mhm. Well, and yeah. So I think it's the appeal to authority and the fact that when somebody appeals to the authority, it literally is that, hey, I have some kind of experience. We see people do this all the time, right? I'm a YouTube lawn expert and this and that. I'm a golf course superintendent, but seldom, if ever, have we seen somebody who is actually the fucking authority, as deemed by the state of West Virginia, right, on the subject, to just say, well, if you just go to the zoning board and pay the $35 and change your home lot, to a commercial property, hey, you're fine, right? If you got to grease a guy at 50 or whatever.
Fun fact, I'll kind of peel back the onion layer here. We're not going to do it publicly, but we'll say that the property records on that address were analyzed, and it is a residential property. It is not zoned commercial. We had to do the due diligence before we presented it on the show. I'm just saying. We did due diligence. It's still registered as a residential property. It's not.
This is
not a
how
commercial
hard
property.
we're willing to work for you. This is how hard we're willing to work for our listenership and our viewership. So be that as it may, Greg, you have fucked up and you've made a video about it. And then you tried to argue with people that you were in the right, and you were clearly wrong on this one. So do better. Try to help people. I feel that you need to help people and get all those views, but get them for the right reasons, sir. And get some fucking help too. All right. Let's go on to this last one. And this is the one that, gentlemen, I think I put this this has been some time. We haven't had an opportunity to really dive in on this one. It's the video itself is lengthy. The parts that we're going to watch though are not. And this one is sure to send both of you into orbit, and I cannot wait to watch the reactions. So, without further ado, Jay Pink, go ahead and just put it up on the screen. Let's not play it yet, and I'll set the scene here. So, this is a gentleman. The company is called Soil Shepherds. Okay,
Oh.
and Soil Shepherds is a company. I cannot remember where they are. I want to say Pennsylvania, but I'll look it up and find out for you. And their claim to fame is regenerative lawn care. So they put this video out as about a year ago, maybe, and it was linked. And again, the work that I'm willing to put in, like my algorithm, completely destroyed. So I get videos like this. So this is kind of this gentleman's thesis on where regenerative agriculture or regenerative lawn care picks up the slack where conventional lawn care is failing. So he's
Can we
going to
use the
go
word
into this section.
intersectionality here? This is the intersectionality of regenerative ag and lawn care.
The nexus.
This is
And
I'm going to say this is woke lawn care.
So he's going to dive into the pros and cons here, if you will. He's kind of summarized a few things here at the beginning, about halfway through the video here. He's going to go into his pros and cons effectively between conventional lawn care and regenerative lawn care. Let's listen in.
Are the additional services that support the basic package. I'll start at the top with dethatching. Dethatching, the function is to remove organic matter. So why is this bad? Well, plants are approximately 80% water, and as we've already learned, the soil is full of organisms whose sole role is to break down thatch. Therefore, if you have a problem with organic matter that's not breaking down, this is a huge red flag that you have problems with your soil health. Also, it's bad because it releases carbon. As you're digging into the top layer of soil to get the organic material out, you're exposing soil to the atmosphere, releasing carbon, not good. So the ideal solution is to build healthy soil. It's loaded with decomposers who will take care of that organic matter for you. Up next is core aeration.
I agree. Dethatching is a meme.
With core aeration, first is to allow air to reach the roots, and second is to break up compacted soil. So I have a picture of this one. You can see here, this is a core of soil that was pulled out of the ground and it's left on top of the ground. This one is about 2.5 inches long. However, there are different settings on the machine that can range anywhere from 1/2 inch up to 5 inches. So this is bad for two reasons. First of all, pulling cores from the soil is a form of tilling that releases organic matter or carbon into the atmosphere. Second, you're using gas machinery, which also has a carbon footprint. And that applies also to dethatching. You need to transport them to the job site, and then you need to run them. So there's an impact there as well. The solution is to build healthy soil. In doing so, as you add that organic matter, the soil is going to clump together or pull together. That in turn creates air spaces. Next is overseeding, which is applying grass seed, typically in the spring or fall. This is bad for 3 reasons. First of all, overseeding is often combined with other practices like core aeration and dethatching. The reason that they're typically combined is we don't want to just apply seed, but you want the seed to germinate. Therefore, if you're applying seed and it lands on top of thatch or broken down material or organic material that's not breaking down, then the seed's not going to germinate. Therefore, the solution is to dethatch, put holes in the ground. That's going to ensure contact with the seed, and you have higher germination rates. Now, the second reason it's bad is that it's often coated with other products like clay, fertilizers, and dyes. Therefore, when you buy 50 pounds of seed, you're actually getting 25 pounds of seed and 25 pounds of coating. Again, the rationale is that that material will hold water, help the seed to germinate. Lastly, overseeding is often paired with overwatering because we humans want grass seed to germinate on our timeline. Now, 3 solutions here. First, buy pure grass seed. Second, don't combine with other harmful practices. And third, let the seeds germinate when they are ready. The decision for a seed to germinate is a life or death decision. Keep in mind that tall fescue will remain viable for about 5 years. Therefore, the grass seed will remain in the lawn and it'll wait for the ideal conditions to germinate. However, if we humans trick the grass seed into germinating by watering in the middle of a drought, then that seed will germinate, but it will not be able to sustain itself and it will die.
This is bonkers. I don't know how else to describe it, but like there's making statements and just being factually inaccurate, and then there are people that have just jumped off the cliff of bonkers, crazy world. They need to watch Shaddix's channel last month about dealing with mental health, because the sheer ease with which he just spread his wings and was like,
I think he tried hard. I think he tried a lot harder than you think, but go ahead.
Oh my God. Let it play. I gotta keep taking more of this in. This is, I feel like I ate or drank ayahuasca or something, and I am just tripping face right now.
You don't want to trick your seed. That's the one. There's a lot in here so far, but tricking your seed.
Ooh, strong.
Who?
You ever slip
Tricking
a
your
roofie
seed.
in your seed's drink?
Don't, not even once. Don't do that.
Up is
Never.
lime. Now, if your soil is very acidic,
Uh-huh.
then plants will have trouble taking up nutrients. Therefore,
Okay.
lime is applied to increase the pH or to make it more alkaline. So this is
Okay.
bad for 3 reasons. First and foremost, limestone is a finite resource here on Earth. Second, there is a carbon footprint to mine, crush, bag, and transport limestone. And when you apply lime, you're not just increasing the pH, it also applies calcium and magnesium, depending on the types of lime that you're using, and you might not need those. The solution, I use a pH that has, or a compost that
buffer.
has a pH of 7.3 versus
Why
a
does
neutral
your
pH
compost-
of 7.0. So applying the
Why does your compost? Why is it alkaline?
I know
is
why,
it
Matt.
alkaline? Why
I know
is that,
why.
Ray?
Because if you harvest material from a site that is alkaline and full of salts, that transfers to the compost. Because do you know my locally available compost? Guess what pH that comes out at?
What
Guess what
salts are creating that high pH in that plant material? What alkaline salts?
Sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium.
Oh, interesting. Like the things he stated here is having an impact is actually in the compost?
Yep. Correct, Matt. Correct.
Gosh. This is
Correct.
novel.
I mean, and you
mean
see,
it's literally pulling it from the soil and then you're reapplying it back to the soil?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. And in fact, you can fuck up royally by applying this high pH compost to an already alkaline soil. And you know when how you know when you fucked up? When you apply this compost to already alkaline soil, and instead of the plants and the turf grass getting greener from the nitrogen release, they then react badly to the alkalinity and the salts, and they react by becoming chlorotic and yellow. I've literally seen this happen many times, Matt. Many. Because I've got calls from people that ask me, "Hey Ray, I just got my landscape installed. The landscaper brought in truckloads of compost. I don't understand why all my foliage is looking sick and yellow. Can you help me?" There.
Let's see what old soil shepherd is going to take us down next. I'm sure it's just going to be a
Yeah.
bastion of greatness here.
Matt, what kind of acid trip is he going to take us on? Serious question.
Not enough. Yeah.
Not enough.
I haven't had enough.
Bring the
compost
heavy shit in.
increases the pH in place of using limestone. Next up is top dressing. Top dressing is the application of amendments on top of the lawn. The material depends on your goal. For example, some people apply sand to make their lawn as smooth as a golf course. Others use compost or leaf mold to build healthy soil. So why is this bad? Well, it's often paired with processes like core aeration. The rationale is the amendments you're applying on top of the lawn, you really want them in the lawn. So if you put holes all over the lawn, that'll get it in the ground quicker. So the solution, don't pair with core aeration and ensure you're using the proper amendment. Otherwise, put the top dressing on top of the lawn. Be patient. Nature will take care of it for you. Lastly, sprinkler systems, which are timed systems to deliver water to the lawn. They're bad for 2 reasons. First and foremost, in order to install them, they're typically underground. You're digging in the soil to install, which is bad for the soil health. Also, there is a carbon footprint to capture.
All right. Can we all agree that live turf grass that's watered is going to be healthier for soil in terms of generating roots and the cycle of sloughing off roots and
nutrients,
building new roots, and
cycling of nutrients? Yes. I totally agree. I mean, because Remember what my favorite tool is for fixing a bad lawn, Ryan? What my favorite tool is?
Tell me.
The fucking trencher, because that lawn needs a properly operating irrigation system.
That's what Sheila calls him. She calls him the fucking trencher.
That's right. Damn right.
Bring your slotted pipe over here. All right. Let's see what old homeboy has to say about the sprinkler system here.
Clean and
Let's
deliver
kill you.
water. So the solutions here, again, build healthy soil by increasing soil organic matter by 1% over 1 acre will increase the soil's ability to hold over 20,000 gallons of water. Second, healthy uncompacted soil allows for deeper roots to access deeper water and to pull water up through capillary action. So I have a very important summary here at the end of this, and that is that the trend is humans replacing processes that nature has perfected. The human version is not an upgrade. It's inefficient.
Pause.
It's wasteful.
Okay. So the lawn, I don't know that nature has perfected having a lawn in front of your house that nature didn't build.
It hasn't. It hasn't.
Or a
It hasn't.
sports
because-
field or a golf course or
So is this all just like
Because-
a construct, man? You know,
Yes.
society.
look at modern
Man.
agriculture. Modern agriculture is trying to dismantle us into zombies. It's killing us. Agriculture is killing us. The miracle of us feeding the population explosion that we have seen, that has sustained life, is actually that which is killing us. Demay, let that sink in.
The mental gymnastics that you need to go through to get to that conclusion, whereas it is literally the opposite, because I am literally thankful for the Green Revolution. Okay? I'm thankful for that.
Oh,
likewise-
Kenny said Leaf Grow, which is a compost sold in Maryland and surrounding states.
Yeah,
I
I've got
wonder
that
if
here.
this guy is having a mental breakdown because he's in Montgomery County. Isn't that the one in Maryland that shut down lawn care?
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Montgomery County.
I-
And okay, here's my prediction on Montgomery County. Montgomery County is going to become one of those localities that get overtaken by pestilence. All right?
I think it got taken over by people who eat copious amounts of psilocybin and then decide to turn that into lawn care YouTube videos. Because
Like this guy?
is tripping absolute balls
Balls.
right now.
Yep.
Face melting,
Yep.
just out in the world.
A lot of tradways because you don't see the swingers there because you can't have pineapples without pesticides, right?
Right? That is true.
Then you get the one. Never mind. Never mind. Anyway, the Clayton Bigsby tradwaves, like we were talking about before. Anyway,
Mhm.
let's see what other processes are we replacing? I think this guy feels
it's
about a
overly
fleshlight.
complicated and terrible for the environment. This
Pause right there.
concludes-
Okay, so right there.
Whoa.
I just teed him up. You hear that? I asked him what do you think this guy thinks about a fleshlight? He says it's overly complicated and bad for the environment. Wholeheartedly.
I beg to
Disagree.
differ. Okay? I beg to differ, all right?
You didn't get the
If you
one
know,
that's
you
shaped like
know.
a mouth. Okay, that's all I'm saying. You didn't get the one shaped like a mouth.
I am
We'll send it to you.
messaging
Give us
my
your
wife
address.
again. Sweetheart, I am going to use you like a. All right, we'll go ahead.
That's the best part about that. Never
Conventional
mind. I
model.
can't say that one. You don't even have to clean
The
her out.
last step is to build our regenerative lawn program. Let's start with goals to
Find
stay
why.
on track and so we can measure results. When I started, I had 3 goals. First, to reduce inputs, including pre-emergence, fertilizers, chemicals, lime, and water. Second, reduce processes like core aeration, dethatching, and the use of sprinkler systems. Lastly, and most importantly, is to replace the inputs and the processes with healthy soil. So I love these goals. They are very easy to understand, measurable, they're realistic, and most importantly, they have a high impact. I'm going to take a
Healthy
minute to
soils
share
don't
some
grow
of the
weeds.
benefits of these goals.
Learn
I'll
that
start
today.
with carbon.
Mhm.
Accomplishing these goals will reduce the amount of carbon released into the atmosphere from the mining, creation, and distribution of all the inputs. And by building healthy soil, we're increasing
Where do
the
you get
organic
your
matter,
compost, buddy?
which means we are storing more
Is there a
carbon
carbon footprint
right
for
at
that?
home. Second, by building healthy soil, we'll have fewer weeds that will germinate
What?
because you'll have better soil
That-
conditions.
That
Therefore-
is how can you say that and look yourself in the mirror? You can't do it without being under the influence of copious amounts of drugs. If you have healthier soils, you will have less weeds. Trust
Matt,
me.
I gotta interrupt. No, I gotta interrupt that because do you know what I have to do to these properties that have tons of compost organic matter applied to them? Do you know what I have to
Trust
do to them?
Trust me. Trust me.
Sorry, Matt. You know I'm resistant to being psyoped, right?
I set off
seriously-
Ray's PSYOP resistor detector.
Yeah, but do you know what I have to do to these properties where tons of compost organic matter were applied to them? Do you know what I have to
Spray
do?
a shit ton of weeds.
I'm talking mean amounts of pre-emergent. Okay, Matt? Mean amounts of pre-emergent. It's bonkers about how much pre-emergent I have to use to stave off all the weeds that come in with the compost or were previously there, and the mineralization of excess amount of nutrients is causing those weeds to just grow like hell. And meanwhile, people are asking, I don't understand. I just got this lawn redone and there are weeds everywhere. What happened? And versus no compost, pure sand, no weeds. There. I said it.
that will germinate because you'll have better soil conditions. Therefore, you'll need less chemicals, which is a huge win. Also, there's big impacts to water. The increased water holding capacity of healthy soil will eliminate the need to water lawns while improving drought tolerance.
What?
And there will be less runoff,
What?
which will lead to less water pollution, reducing aquatic dead zones. Next, let's talk about monetary costs. So all the inputs and processes from the conventional model cost money. However, if we partner with nature, then the only cost is building healthy soil. In turn, nature will enlist her army of organisms to break down organic matter, aerate the lawn, and feed the grass, all without negatively impacting air pollution. So, lastly and most importantly, you have all the benefits from building healthy soil. You'll have less compaction that will lead to increased root depth, better nutrient cycling, leading to improved nutrient availability, leading to less disease, and so on. So, 3 goals with more benefits than I can fit on the screen. So, what would this process look like? The process would be 4 steps: completing a soil test, compost top dressing, overseeding, and spot treating weeds. Now, the last 3 of 4 steps were also included in the conventional model. So what's changed? Well, the difference is we are not pairing with processes that are harmful to the soil. Instead, we are relying on nature to do what nature does best. I'll run through each of these to provide a little more detail. First is a soil test. The function of a soil test is to measure nutrients and organic matter in the soil. Second is a compost top dressing. I covered compost in our key learning. This is our primary means of building healthy soil. Here's a picture of what it looks like when applying compost as a top dressing. You literally apply on top of the grass, and it works its way down to the ground. And over time, all the living organisms work it into the soil. Third is overseeding. Now, on the surface, this is exactly what you think it is, spreading grass seed. However, I view this differently than the conventional lawn care model. In the conventional lawn model, this is typically a one-time event, and success is measured by the number of seeds that germinate in the current season. When I overseed, I view this as replicating nature. Nature is continually growing and spreading seeds, as I covered with the weeds section.
Dude, I don't know
Grass
how
is
much
no
more
different.
I can take of
In the
this.
wild,
This is like, I mean, I'm trying my best to tune it out, and it is like burning into my brain. Can we get this guy on the show? I want him to come on the show and explain this to me like I'm 5. Well, I think he's doing a fair enough job right here to explain it to me like I'm 5. But I want the opportunity to rebuff it live. Rebut it. Not rebuff it. It needs to be rebuffed.
Yeah.
But
Look,
rebut it live.
yeah.
It's not a debate. Like, I legitimately want him to cite his sources and change my fucking mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Careful,
Cite
JP.
sources.
I think it's the other way around. Sorry.
Yeah.
JP's
Yeah.
chat
Cite
with me
sources and furthermore justify, because do you know what I see in this no irrigation, throw compost willy-nilly everywhere? Do you know what I see in that method of turfgrass management, Matt? Do you know what I see in that? A whole lot of fucking work that he is not accounting for. None of this happens in a vacuum. All right? None of this.
Well,
I mean,
then you would
I am
vacuum up
naive.
all the seed bank, Ray. It's a
No,
joke.
because I am naive to think that throw compost on a lawn, don't irrigate it, don't really control weeds, and you will still have a commercially acceptable turf grass area in 6 months. And oh, by the way, Matt, you know how I know that doesn't work? Because I already see people doing that stuff here over and over again, and I gotta clean up the mess. Okay?
Demay, this is incredibly infuriating, and I'm going to keep my shit together, hoping that they will come on the show.
You want me to email them right now?
If you don't mind, I did comment on the video, because I had to.
'Cause you're mad.
I just want him to come on and cite his sources and give me the opportunity to read and learn. This is an educational moment. I am not above learning. I will gladly learn. I learn something new every day. And I think this would be a great opportunity for me to revisit some of the things that I had studied previously, which led me to the conclusions I came to. And if I need to revisit it because of updated data or something else, then by all means, I will gladly take that opportunity. But I will say, having not given him the opportunity to at least present the data that he's using to aggregate this, boy, oh boy, not gonna lie, my ears aren't very comfortable right now. My breathing rate is not very stable right now. My heart rate is not very stable right now, and
You're really not going to want to see the what the fuck is this? Yeah, the LinkedIn profile for this guy. It's really going to probably send you over the edge. What did he say? Oh, I didn't. Huh? Oh boy. Okay. Here you go. Anyway, so we'll talk more about that later. And listen, there's a lot to chew on here. I think the points that we're making here are for this particular video, or this is that there are things and ways that we can always reduce, right? And I think as we talk about here and from our experience and all the also ways that are peer reviewed and there is literature out there to support this. I think we've incorporated as much of that as we possibly can, and you'll always hear us of saying, "Hey, do this, don't do that," and there's always a reason behind. Hey, maybe you don't need to do that. Not everything is cut and dried, and like Ray says, done in a vacuum. And to kind of poke holes in the traditional model, I could poke holes in this traditional model too, but I think it would be more towards pushing greater turf performance, not necessarily even for aesthetics, but just from a purely agronomic perspective, where we're trying to grow the healthiest grass that we can so that we can keep weeds out, insects, diseases, whatever. But to say that, hey, you eliminate all that stuff and everything's equal and nature will kind of find the equilibrium, you're managing something that's unnatural on its face. That's the whole point here. And it's okay to apply things with lesser inputs, whether it be from a labor standpoint, from a product standpoint, a resources standpoint, whatever. I don't think there's anybody on this panel that would disagree with that. However, you got to read the room, and there is a finite balance that will always exist between we're doing something unnatural here. We are doing something that nature doesn't allow for, but people want and people desire. Just as we talked about, why are we? Hey, listen, guys, why are we not using homing pigeons anymore? Why are we using cell phones? Do you know how much? You know what the carbon footprint is for Tim Cook to shit out 1 million iPhones in a year? Huh? Give me a homing pigeon, and then you take some of that homing pigeon shit, you mix it up a little ammonium sulfate, you sell it for $43 a bag on the internet. Just got to find some rube on there who's got a channel with enough people to sell it to.
Hey,
the world.
Yeah.
What's the what time's a flat circle or whatever Matthew McConaughey said? Here it is, right in front of our faces, gentlemen. Yeah. So yeah, we'll get this guy on the show. We'll do our very best to do that. But as we close out here tonight, very excited to have a guest back. As I said, we've been bouncing around. We've been doing some different things. It's been difficult for us to schedule guests just because we've got so many different things going on and changing days and everything like that. However, this coming week, Wednesday, when you see this show drop, we'll have Carolina Cutting on, a very knowledgeable individual and one who's not afraid to mix it up. And I think we'll have some contrasting opinions. I think it'll be good to talk about turf from another perspective, from the golf course perspective, and just what he is learning about lawn care and how everything fits in and what works, what doesn't, and going from there. So it'll be a great conversation. Looking forward to it. Maybe we can even make a 5th spot for driver to join the panel just for a little bit, right?
Yes.
Yes. We'll coax him out. Oh He's God. Like Oscar the Grouch hiding in that Houston Astros trash can right now.
Oh,
son of a bitch.
I would die. All right. I love y'all. Y'all have a good night. But.
All right.